Isle of Roux, where no one can tell us what to do. Hello, welcome to the Isle of Roux. We're happy you made it safely here. Rich just shared the links if you'd like to join us from your studio. I'm gonna begin with the land acknowledgement. The Creator gifted us with this land that we are blessed to share and care for together. We acknowledge that the land we gather on, Mokinstis, is the ancestral territory of the Siksika Sitipi, the Siksika, the Gaina, the Pikani, and the Amska Pipikani. We acknowledge all First Nations and Métis of Treaty 7 lands, the Sutana, the Itkabi, which includes Bearspaw, Chiniki, and Goodstony. We commit to advancing reconciliation guided by truths, respecting treaty laws, and humbly walking alongside First Nations, Métis, and Inuit. We recognize all who live, work, and play, and make art on these lands, and who now call this place home. Thank you so much for joining us, and for just taking some time to acknowledge how blessed we are to be in this space. All right. Okay, we do this. Oh, you're doing it. I did it 3 times.
Can you hear us? The mic. Check the mic. Settings. Audio.
Right. So,
Yeti.
you've been busy this week.
Oh no.
In it.
Yeah. So, you want to watch a movie? Are you in the mood for that? I'll put a movie on. I
was just, huh?
I hear what you're saying.
Oh, I just meant like.
Present. Where should we start? Video file. Okay, you want to see what's the last thing we did here? In the Wolfman's Forest. Here we go. Mind if I close the window? I thought it was a little weird, but like kind of, I thought you could tell what was happening. Well, I mean, I didn't want it to be too obvious. The whole point is to be kind of vague and aloof what we're making. Sort of. Yeah, you're on the right path. Not so much, not so literal. Like it's more like we're all the Wolfmen, like everybody. Yeah, I don't know. It could have been any of us, right? Like. Yeah, it's like at first those were clues, right? I thought so, but not too over the top of your head. Now we're breaking down. Oh!
It's crazy. It's crazy stuff, eh? I liked the addition of Dead Kevin in that series.
I thought it was done, that series.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was going to be like just the 3 and then left kind of open-ended. But I actually have a few more ideas I'd like to.
I like that. I like that it gives you space to play around.
Mm-hmm. I like to keep the expectations low.
Mm-hmm.
So that I can do whatever I want. Did you ever wonder where Dead Kevin came from?
Yeah, I did actually.
Let's just ask the talking head.
No rest for the wicked. Eh?
There was a boy who talked. He talked until his voice was dry. His breath faded the paint on the walls. Even his shadow grew bored. No one listened. Sometimes they nodded. Sometimes they smiled or looked away. They waited for him to stop, but he never did. One day he walked to the woods. Talking to trees, he wore off their bark. But they didn't move. They just waited for their silence back. Beneath the boughs in the densest bush, he met a hag. She did not blink. She did not turn away. He did not wear away her patina. There was no broom. That was a myth. She liked his stories. But he didn't notice. Finally, she said that she could do anything, but that he should be careful of making only very careful wishes. Can you make them listen? He asked. Is that your wish? Yes, he said. You have to be very careful with your words. Yes, he said, but he wasn't sure. She nodded, and she bent the light. She reached into the air and pulled down a star and fed it to a worm and handed it to him. Surely no, he said. Go ahead, eat. Or do not. It is not too late. The worm glowed, and he ate. It was sticky. Now they will listen, she said. He opened his mouth, but there was no sound. She took his voice, but now they listened so very carefully.
Oh, Kevin.
Which one of us is talking tonight?
I can talk a bit. I was really impressed by that narrative because I even read the title and then I read the actual narrative, and I was still blown away at the connection between dead Kevin and the story.
Mm.
And that's embarrassing to say that it took me so long to
Why is that embarrassing?
Well, because, like, I even saw the title and I read the story and then I was like, whoa, origin story. And then I put it together like, I don't know, it's embarrassing because I should have known a bit, I guess, better.
Maybe the subterfuge was this. Maybe you generally assume on some level most of the stories I write are about me. And
Right.
so when it was about a boy,
that,
you would have assumed it was Felix or I.
Yeah.
For me. And then maybe that's what led you away from Dead Kevin.
Right. And it was like far enough away from you or from Dead Kevin that I just focused on.
Well, because I find Dead Kevin is so stoic.
Right.
That we really do listen to him.
Right.
But maybe people like me, and I might embody the opposite of stoicism. Maybe people like me run the risk of, if you speak too much, you aren't nearly as heard. And so empathizing with Dead Kevin, who doesn't speak, and my own narrative, maybe I was reading into Dead Kevin's experience. Now, it's funny that when I write, I'm speculating what it's about as much as you are.
That's interesting.
Because lately they've been coming out so spontaneously.
Right. You're like we were talking about, you're like the radio.
Mm-hmm.
Which is very interesting too. Because then you're like learning about it as you're creating it. That's really interesting.
It is, I think, because like also we're producing at a pace where it's like there isn't always time to really stop and figure out what it's about
and talk things out, and
so through intuition.
Yeah, like you're like, do you want to read this thing? And I was like, yeah, sure. And then then I read it, and then I'm like, half an hour later, like I'm watching the edit.
Right. And then would it be weird to you to discover I feel the same way about what we produce?
Yeah.
Even I might be a little more in the production seat. And I'm just like, what is it all about?
And then you hear more of it and you're like, whoa.
Or how would I describe that? It's more like I'm listening to what we've created. I also like this. There was a few, what would be the opposite of a typo? Audio blips where we're producing so fast that you read the wrong words. I'm like, that's not what I wrote. I'm like, that still works. And I find, especially working with Felix, who's 12 and very willing to spend an entire weekend just shooting content with his family. When things don't go the way I expected, I really do find it's interesting to watch how things evolve between what I had intended to say and what gets said.
Right.
Hello, boy.
Hi.
Hello, boy.
Hi.
Do you think you could flip that screen?
Oh, yeah.
Where did you go? Felix? Where's your face? Are you able to flip that screen though? Turn it on its side. There. Ah, perfect. Why does it keep shutting off? Where are you, my son? With or without you. I wonder if we'll play. Oh, he's gone. He's gone and he's coming back. He wrote BRB. I made Play-Doh for my class. And we made blue and red bottles. Did you get a buzz?
I think that was old. Meep.
Is that Felix? What's meep? What's happening?
Nothing. That might have been old.
Are you telling me it's Felix?
Yes, it was Felix, but it was
okay.
like when he first came on.
Gotcha. So he sent both of us a meep?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Is that like Bugs Bunny? Meep.
Oh yeah. Meep.
Anyways, I kept finding combinations of Play-Dohs that red, blue. And I kept reading Be Right Back.
Right.
Do. Elaine. I'd like to read a little bit about the narrative. So I can take this brush out of my mouth. Between the soundtrack to The Graduate and the movie The Graduate, because it's almost like they wrote the soundtrack not really knowing what the movie is about. Ever notice that?
Yeah, I never thought which came first.
Well, clearly her name is Robinson.
Mm-hmm.
But not very much else from the soundtrack really lined up with the story.
Right.
And so I often kind of wonder if it was like abstract or ill-conceived. Now, I can tell you this, having worked on books and magazines and stories and things, it would often happen, like, for instance, with movie posters, that you'd get commissioned to write a poster for a movie before the screenplay was ready, or you'd illustrate books before the book was complete. And so there sort of seemed to be like this kind of understanding that maybe you weren't going to get the right exact, image.
Right.
And I think I've even illustrated books thinking like it's okay if it doesn't line up perfectly. Like Chris Evans' book, the one that I got paid for to open the money I needed to open the Gorilla House. There are pages in that book that I didn't think lined up perfectly. You're like reading the chapter afterwards going, oh, he was supposed to be wearing a brown sweater. Guess I didn't know that when I drew the drawings, right? Mm-hmm. And I think the first time I saw that happen was in the Gunslinger series, Stephen King. Mm-hmm. One of the first books I often tell you I didn't start reading until I was 21. But when I had chickenpox, my mom brought some books home. And so I did some reading that year. I was reading one of the Gunslinger books, and I remember I was kind of like weirded out that there's chapter illustrations that were like oil paintings. And they didn't line up in terms of like the characters were wearing the wrong clothes and stuff.
Interesting.
And so I definitely think when I was illustrating Chris Evans' book, there was something where Laurie was like, oh, well, this isn't exactly correct. And I was like, oh, that's okay. That happens. That's like a thing.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, that's a thing? I was like, yeah, it's totally a thing. I also sort of feel like, I guess I was going to say this before when we're talking about how I kind of sort of see a lot of what we're doing with the Rumble House kind of in the abstract, where it's like short stories sometimes don't have a beginning, middle, and end the way that novels do.
Yeah.
They just sort of have like it's just an experience, like you're
kind of like hinting at something. Or yeah, experience.
Part of a.
You've been through something by the
Yeah, like sometimes it doesn't have that arc that you're
Yeah.
expecting. Have you ever noticed that?
Yes, especially teaching it, because we'll be like talking about the parts of a short story.
Right, and then you do a short story and it's missing all the
except
parts.
for this one example that I gave you, which does not have. But it's also good to talk about because, like you said, it's like you have the impression of that exposition, and then the kids aren't reliant on all of the formula being there all the time.
Right.
Which is good.
Now, speaking of formula, when I was studying writing at Mount Royal, in the professional writing program, one of the script writing classes, we ended up watching movies, and I learned about the movie formula, which can really ruin movies for you.
Right.
Act 2, Scene 2, change location. And so, like, I'm often watching a film, and you'll be like screaming and talking to the screen, and I'm like, no, Jess, like there's 2.5 hours left, unless it's a Tarantino film.
Yeah, and then
they're
like
not going to kill off the main character,
right? Or like Felix.
Every now and then they kill off the main character, and you're like, well, didn't see that coming.
That's so fun. Don't stop that again.
All right, I'm gonna show one more movie. Or am I? This one's a bit longer, I think.
You have another one?
Would you believe it?
Should I start over?
You can.
Okay. Do you like my voice, though? It's good. This is Mayberry Street. Red Deer, Sector 12. Lawn edges, sharp as statements. Flags hang from porches, crisp and correct. Curtains blink with a kind of knowing. And inside one small classroom, a teacher lets students paint with questions. The kind that makes people uncomfortable. The kind that don't always dry clean. April 22nd, Year 5, AS, after separation. Lena Halverson stands alone in the Red Deer Free Academy art room. The smell of citrus cleaner and cheap pigment still hanging in the air. Fluorescents buzz, like insects with opinions. A drawing rack hums with student projects, their colors louder than anything said aloud that day. She's got a Band-Aid on her thumb from opening a dented tin of yellow ink. Imported supplies are rare now. Custom paperwork needs 3 copies and a promise. Instead, they mixed pigments with co-op corn alcohol and prairie clay. Her students didn't care. They made beauty anyway. One piece in particular stops her cold. Jamie T's mural, a bison, massive and calm, stands at the edge of a broken fence. The sky behind it fractures into cartographic lines. Not angry, just uncertain. She leans back against her desk and breathes through her nose until her throat stops tightening. Jamie's journal entry. Miss H cried again today. Not the kind of cry you see on TV. The kind where you blink too much and your voice gets slow. I acted like I didn't notice. She said I should title the bison piece something that felt honest. I didn't want to call it anything. She told me that's still a choice. I named it This Is Still Home because I don't know if it is. I was born here, but I don't know what here is anymore. My cousin can't visit from Edmonton without a temporary residency stamp. We used to play Mario Kart in the same room. Now he says he's thinking of applying for a Canadian visa like it's some other country. I guess it is. I keep dreaming of fences that don't keep anything out. They just divide the grass. The kettle hisses, but no one moves to turn it off. Karen and Mark sit at the table, mugs empty. The show program folded neatly between them like a treaty. That bison stayed with me, still is. It's just paint, Karen. It wasn't angry, just there, like it was watching us decide something. Kid's always been sharp, probably too sharp. Might have been better if he just painted the damn Rockies. What would that teach him? That everything's fine? No. That sometimes you keep your head down. You get through the noise, you survive. Maybe he's not trying to survive it. Maybe he's trying to name it. A long pause, the kettle dies down. Nobody drinks. They'll talk about her, Lena. They already are. In the Prairie Bean Cafe, midday whispers. The clink of ceramic cups and low jazz on the speakers isn't enough to cover the tone shift at table 4. It's not that I don't like art. It's that I don't like confusion disguised as curriculum. Mural didn't seem confusing to me. It was unsettled, like the rest of us. We can't ask kids to be honest, then punish them when it's inconvenient. No one's punishing them, but Lena knows what she's doing. You think that bison wasn't placed just so? You think that fence wasn't a message? Everything's a message these days. You breathe one wrong thing and someone calls it sedition. If asking where home is feels threatening, maybe the problem isn't the question. Teacher's lounge. Lena sits in the half-light, her tea cold. She reads notes from her inbox, her finger pressed lightly to each one like it might sting. Stick to landscapes. Our kids don't need ideology in their brushstrokes. Are you still loyal to Alberta? She folds each one carefully, as if folding gives her control. Places them in a drawer, doesn't lock it. Outside, a hallway light flickers, no one walks by. Mayberry Street, dusk. Garage lights click on one by one. Neighbors cross lawns. They bring muffins, clipboards, warm smiles that chill at the edges. They don't say it's about her. They say it's about standards, about unity, about guiding young minds. But the form says it plainly. Community standard concern, cultural disruption. Lena opens the door, takes the paper, thanks them. The light behind her is soft. A sketchbook lies open on the table behind her, a half-drawn bison dissolving into wind. In this new Alberta, the sky is clean, the ground is firm, and the questions are painted in shadows. But if you listen closely in the quiet, you might still hear the bison breathing.
Ominous.
Yeah. I thought I saw Felix. Is he gone again? That was a funny experiment. So I took a story and I wrote it, and then I threw it into the AI, and I asked the AI to rewrite it, and I guided it to steer my voice out of it, if that makes any sense. I wanted it to be less in my voice and more in another writer's voice. And I'll tell you why I did that. I love David Mamet, but everybody in a David Mamet play sounds like another David Mamet. So David Mamet plays end up being like David Mamet after David Mamet after David Mamet. If you love David Mamet, that works. Do you hear squeaky? Is there a mouse in the house?
There's like the baby in the hallway with the squeaky toy.
Oh.
Or maybe squeaky shoes.
Sure.
Oh.
Okay. Anyways, David Mamet.
David Mamet. After David Mamet.
I love David Mamet, but I remember thinking it'd be nice if David Mamet had more variety in his character. So what I wanted to happen was I wanted to get a sense of how would somebody else rewrite my story. And what did happen was it came up with something kind of like unique that I'd asked it to sort of mimic this Twilight Zone feeling.
Maple Street.
Yeah, and it did. And now I wouldn't say it did a great job of being Rod Serling. Certainly didn't do a good job of being Rich Teru. But I did like how it had its own kind of unique thing. And then you read it.
Right.
And then trying to bring it alive with the puppets.
Listening to it on a radio.
It became kind of interesting. It became an interesting project to sort of collaborate with the enemy, really. We think of the AI as the enemy. But I also sort of feel like this. I sort of feel like that you have to kind of, if you're not going to, break into Skynet and get rid of it, it might be necessary to get to know it a little bit. And that was kind of the process we had with that book that we helped work on with Lori. I was very in the sense of like, I'm going to get so canceled for being involved in this. And not only did I not get canceled, but it seemed like nobody really cared.
By that time, actually, there's like AI conferences now. And...
Right. Yeah, it's very common. But I also think like as artists, we kind of went through this phase of like protectionist.
Yeah.
Like, no, I will cancel my friends if they touch it. And then the thing is, I don't think that you could ever I don't think I could get lazy with it. So that's not a concern for me.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't ever want to become reliant on it. And I think that's that line that you and I kind of tested out when we were partaking in the action of having the odd tasty beverage, right? Because you get to the point where it's like, okay, this is starting to control me and I'm becoming dependent on it. And then you say, okay, now I need to make a pivot. So I think I was quite prepared to not go anywhere near the AI. And it has drastically changed my livelihood and my life in a fairly negative way. But at the same time, knowing that it's not an interest of mine to become reliant on it, it has become a bit of an interest of mine to find like some uses for it that are intriguing. So, and then that comes with rules like, okay, I'm going to write a story and then I'm going to try and have it turn my story into something less me. And now that I'm doing things with puppets and narratives and animations, it's kind of fun to... Now, in the other story with Kevin, I did experiment a little bit with using the AI to make some images. Which is like, I don't think in my case you're going to look at those images and go, oh, Rich is trying to pull AI off as his own work. No. I would hope not, anyways. No. And that did occur. We were involved in a project, and I was like, oh, that's funny. And then the other person in the project was like, thanked me later for being gentle about noticing. I'm pretty good at noticing the AI. And I'm super judgmental when I see, say, like if I see the Alberta government has put out some documentation and they're using AI, it's like, for God's sake, hire an artist. But in this case, I don't know if there's a better place to experiment with AI other than your own puppet broadcast that's beyond not-for-profit, but anti-consumerism. So I don't know. I mean, we're going to do some things. We're going to take a road trip, and that might upset people. And tinkering with the AI. I've actually really come to enjoy using it with my teaching as well. And what's neat is my school is going to move in the direction of exploring it next year, which is kind of nice because where sometimes the kids are, in danger of getting suspended for using AI to write their essays. There are lots of things you can use AI for to increase your learning. And if you learn how to exercise with the AI, I think it's pretty useful too. If you learn how to coast with the AI, it's kind of dangerous. And that was the conclusion I came to in that book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is that the world will split in half, and some people will use AI to get lazy, and some people will use the AI to push themselves.
Yeah.
I actually had some fun getting a critique from the AI. I loaded some of my photos in, and I used a blank because if you have, if you use an account, then it kind of gets to know you and it starts to tell you what you want to hear. So I used a blank reference and I asked, put my work in. I was quite pleased to recognize or know that it recognized my work. That was nice. I put a few of my contemporaries in, and that's when I started asking who was using projectors. And the AI was pretty good at noticing who was using projectors for their work, which I think is a little daunting for people that can't draw and lean a little too heavy on the older technology. But I really liked the AI's interpretations of my work. And sometimes you do work and it kind of doesn't reach the audience. You're like, oh, did I go over everybody's head or did I not completely communicate myself? And you and I work together, so it's almost impossible to get non-biased feedback from you because you were in the room while I'm talking it out. But I really liked getting some feedback from the AI.
Mm-hmm.
I also quite liked the feedback, felt quite flattered by it. And I liked being able to sort of like juxtapose my work against some of my contemporaries and see what the AI felt about them. It's pretty nice. I enjoyed it. I mean, I remember when I was at ACAD, AU Arts, maybe it was ACA at the time, the school brought in some world-class art critic from New York. And I remember being young and impressionable, but also thinking this guy's so full of doo-doo.
Well, because you're young and impressionable and still very intuitive.
It was also because, like, one of my studio mates forgot there was a crit and had no ideas.
Yeah.
And he took a mistake he had in the studio and capitalized on the mistake, which is fine. You can do this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's part of a process sometimes. But I remember this studio mate of mine laughing at how non-essential this work was, like really making fun of himself. And then we went into the crit, and the guest art critic was just like, "This is the most
essential,
mature work I've seen in the school."
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, "Yeah, that's not true. Like, you might be reading something that we're not reading. You might know something beyond the surface, but we were there when it was made, and it wasn't what you think it is." Now, if that's valid, if the work can make itself without the knowledge of the creator, then why are we so defensive about AI not being able to be? You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, that's an interesting question.
Like, that was the ego of that presenter who was just like, I know everything, and you guys don't even know how great this is. Even the creator doesn't know. It's like, well, if that's the truth, then what's your beef with the AI?
Right.
All right, well, speaking my mind now because I don't have to sell artwork anymore. And more room to offend people. I'm not wanting to offend people, but I kind of like being able to speak my mind again.
That is nice.
What are some words you can never spell?
Silhouette.
Oh, yeah. Did you cheat?
Mannequin. Yeah, I saw you were looking at silhouette.
Yeah.
When there's double letters, I am
French words, I guess.
double letters for me.
Mm-hmm. So we're going to have an art show in July, quite near to my birthday. And it's going to be in a really nice spot in Inglewood. And we're kind of putting it all up. And we're going to go on a road trip. That'll be nice.
Mm-hmm.
And what else is new? Mark's back in town. That's kind of nice.
Oh, yeah.
Alrighty, I'm kind of stuck for an idea and not feeling very motivated, so give me something. Okay, first of all, can you tell me where I might find some nicer paper?
Underneath the big pieces.
I'm gonna go make a coffee, so you have to be super entertaining.
I am the most entertaining of
Okay, not funny. Talk to the people. Are you on camera?
I will put me on. Well, hold up. I am. Oh yeah, I wanted to talk about Wolfman actually, because with the Wolfman series, we were talking about how we all have, like in a family, everyone has their own things that they're dealing with, and then the Wolfman comes out. And the one thing we were talking about with the videos was that when we just screamed and then the person came back in the car, we had talked at length about like these. Rich even made he made a cover of a book that we covered one of our books with, and it's like what to do when you see a Wolfman, and it was going to be our little prop in the thing. We are going to talk to the Wolfman, like so. Once our initial shock wore off, we were gonna talk to the Wolfman and like kind of deconstruct. Wolfman, are you okay? What do you need? And then that idea of like the Wolfman is kind of a visual for our needs, or like our unspoken needs, I guess, the unspoken needs that end up like coming out as Wolfman. And then we were like, I think I really like I'm not as familiar with video as like Rich and even Felix. So it's interesting when you make a video and like you're working with two people, like Rich is working with us, and then we're like kooks, and then we're kind of like, if you could imagine this, not the most helpful sometimes. And so when we're doing these videos, you have this idea and you have these huge, very detailed concepts. And then when you make the video has to work for, I haven't watched those just yet. The video has to work for like It has to work for the material, and then it has to work for the like what we're doing it for. So it can't be like 10-minute segments, like the 2-minute, 1 minute, 2 minute segments work really well. And too much talking has never been our thing either. So like I like that it gets whittled down to the most essential situations, and then which in its essence is abstraction, because you're abstracting like a more detailed concept.
Yeah.
And then I like that you are also
Who's that down there?
this is the extra thing.
Oh, no, Felix.
So I like then too that
My bad.
new narratives come out of that abstraction, right? Like,
Yeah.
So it's like, I guess it's like writing a story. So you write a story, you have these big ideas, and then, like I said, I'm not as familiar with video as you guys are. So then when you make something, you have to make it. You have to have the stuff to physically shoot those scenes.
Okay, can I contribute to this?
Yeah.
What I would say is that I'm not, when I'm writing a story, I'm mostly interested in prose, but I'm required to have a narrative. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And when I'm illustrating, I'm not interested in prose at all.
Right.
But I'm still trying to like partake in the storytelling.
Right. Okay, yeah.
When I'm shooting a video, it's kind of like a split between the illustration and the prose, where I'm picked it up. I'm storytelling, but the prose doesn't matter at all when I'm shooting a video.
Yeah, right. Okay.
And I don't mean, I guess the video, like I don't worry about making eloquent videos.
The words,
at all.
yeah. The prose, yeah.
No, I meant the prose more as a metaphor.
Right.
Right.
I understand.
When I make the video, I don't care about the film quality. I don't care about all the things that would make like grammar and make a story pretty, like the way I like Michael Ondaatje.
Right.
It's like I throw all of that out and become like a complete
Is it like really
raw?
Yeah, essential.
So I think like I had a hard time watching Canadian TV as a kid, because it was like you'd have an American show that had great lighting and great special effects and great directing, and then the Canadian shows always seemed a little rushed and kind of like shot there on a handy cam in your basement. And so we had a tendency to really lean into videotape on like Canadian productions when I was young, and I really had a hard time watching that, which is interesting because as when I'm producing, I have no ego when it comes to like the quality of my lighting, or it's kind of freeing in the sense that I just don't get hung up about anything. Like my favorite, I think my favorite episode of all the episodes of things we made, or at least one of them, was the Wolfman, where I didn't get around to doing the sound editing, and while I'm walking, like somebody go grrr, and like the folly of doing bad video is really interesting to me, which maybe is like, because it goes a step further than just not being like high budget. It kind of enters into like farcical
Daniel
like,
Johnson.
Yeah, or the freedom of Daniel Johnson, or even just the depth of like Andy Warhol saying, I want the camera to shake. I want people to know this is a film. I want people to know this is a homemade movie and that it's free. I want you to know it's free, right? So when the sound effects falter, it's because I didn't spend money on this, and it is made out of like I enjoy. I used to be a graphic designer and a multimedia designer, so there's all kinds of Adobe programs I used to know how to use, but I really have avoided drawing on any of those skills so that I can just use the bare minimum of what's prepackaged in the phone or the computer. And I like the rawness of having kind of about the same equivalent movie magic skills that a PBS station would have in the 1970s. Like I've got a really bad green screen, and I like tinkering with it to try and make it into something that can tell a story, even if it's told badly.
Right, and it's like almost turns painterly again when you do more like that.
Right, and that's where it comes back to like, well, we have AI at our disposal, and so to not borrow from the AI, but to use the AI as a counterweight, meaning like if I can find a way to make my life harder by owning a projector, I'll use a projector. If in any way the projector is compensating for me not wanting to draw, I don't use a projector. One time I did one of my better paintings, and this kid's like, "Did you draw that freehand?" And I think what he meant was, "Did you project that?" And I was like, super offended. So I grabbed my Etch-a-Sketch and I redrew it on my Etch-a-Sketch, and then I posted it. And he's like, "Okay, never mind. Like, I guess if I can draw it on an Etch-a-Sketch as well as I can draw it with the on a canvas."
Yeah.
I didn't use a projector, but I could have. Like, I feel like I've earned that right.
Yeah.
By learning to draw. And also because we do so much raw drawing. Just out of our heads. Live and in front of everybody.
Yeah.
The idea of the Gorilla House and the Rumble House and the live art was to demystify art making.
Yeah, so everyone could take part.
Yeah, and it also kind of drove away some of the people that kind of borrow and use cheap techniques to
smoke and mirrors.
Right, yeah, because they would often want to come and talk and take part, but they also had to maintain their illusions. And this has never been a magic show for me.
I love that.
So maybe, and I act like I'm totally open to all forms and, people being creative in lots of different ways. But in the sense that I'm not bothered if somebody uses a projector, I am a little bothered if they pretend they don't. And so I'm not a big fan of the pretending.
Right, because you live off of honesty.
Right. So, I mean, that might be a little daunting too. Like if I've had conversations with people that use projectors and I tell them it's okay. With my students, for sure, if I have somebody who's adverse to risk taking in art, one of the first things I would always do is have them try making artwork on a projector.
Yeah, totally.
And that would allow them a success.
That's space.
But at the same time, then there's this like, oh, well, you have to know you can't quit your job and become a full-time artist just because you bought a B&Q.
Yeah, that shift then, once you get confident with the projector, then you need to make yourself uncomfortable.
Find a way to make it harder.
Yeah, so it's like that's the thing, that's that shift. So like you show the kids how to transfer an image so they can focus on the shading or the color or something.
Right.
Because you are trying to make sure they feel like they could succeed. But then if that like next step isn't,
it intrudes on the truth
taken, then it's just sad because you're stuck at that level rather than pushing beyond. And that is like a bigger, like you said, it's a metaphor too.
Well, and I can kind of understand, like, I'm sure there's lots of things about becoming a super realist where you're using a projector and it still requires a lot of like skill and talent.
You have to be good at using a projector.
But I think also like because maybe like the non-art making public doesn't really understand that. I can understand why people would veer away from it. You know what I mean? Like, one of those people portrait prizes. There was a bit of a controversy because the winner had used a projector, and then there were sort of stages of development where at first she was sort of posting like work smarter, not harder, and then somebody else kind of spoke to her about like the importance of authenticity, and then she reposted about like thanks for this lesson. I can't remember, like there's a lot of people kind of involved in that, but
Yeah.
there's definitely different stages of growth and understanding. And I think also like there's those people that like are adamant about not using the technology.
Yeah.
And then they get so protective of like, oh, they use this or that, and there's accusations and
Burnham, he's a witch. Just kidding.
well, I don't think I'm gonna get burned for technology because
No, I just thought of that.
I tend to use the technology always in a pretty thoughtful way.
Sorry if I was away from the. I was just on the phone.
That's okay.
My mom is back for a week trial date. She's got dementia,
Oh,
and so I've got caregivers. I have 3 caregivers taking care of her, but I'm trying to get funding and stuff, and they're not cooperating.
that's hard. I'm sorry, Kelly.
Not them, AHS.
Yeah.
So I'm having. It's just tough. That's all.
Yeah. That's
But
hard.
it's hard seeing my mom that way.
That is really hard. I'm sorry about that.
But doing some art actually takes my mind off of it.
That's really nice. I'm glad.
I was
Maybe
gonna ask, Rich, how's your mom doing?
How about we chat about it later?
Sure. Okay. Bye.
the Meeper has returned.
Hello.
Can you flip your orientation?
Yep. Are you talking?
Kelly,
Yeah.
I'm sorry if that came off harsh. My mom's okay. My Auntie Penny just passed on Monday.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, you know what? I didn't really want to talk about it, and that's not your fault, but I also felt like maybe I was unnecessarily abrupt with you, and so I'm just,
No problem.
I love you. I'm not in the mood for that, but it's not you that I'm not in the mood for.
Okay.
It's just my own life.
Dad, I need to work on some homework, so I'm gonna have this on mute.
You have homework?
Fun.
What's your homework?
Homework is so much fun, actually. I
Is it
like
like
homework.
getting into grade 8 homework?
It's like pretty fun, but I need to record a documentary.
Oh, okay. How was your week?
Good.
Good. Did anybody like your haircut?
Yeah.
Did the mean kids say, why you let your dad do your haircut? I'll body slam them if they do.
No.
Did anybody say anything nice about your haircut?
Like they kind of just, oh, you have a haircut. Cool.
Good. That's nice.
What's your hair look like, Felix? I didn't see.
It doesn't look different at all.
Is it curly?
It looks the same.
No, it looks good.
I feel like that's like the part about your dad's haircuts, because I have the same thing as like looks different to me when he cuts it. But I feel like the haircuts he gives us are like they suit us so much that then it's like people aren't like, whoa. It's like,
Well,
oh, yeah.
sometimes you want to change and I give you a change, and sometimes you don't want to change.
But
and
I'm
then-
saying even when you
Yeah.
give me a drastic change, it's a drastic change to me. But other people, I think it just suits me so well that it's not that shocking to people.
Well, I'm always giving Felix the haircut that stops the other haircut, if that makes any sense.
It's a special haircut. It's a haircut with love.
Exactly. A love haircut.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the anti-haircut. There's sort of a point where he starts to look a little crazy. And I'm like, I think you're on your way to Beaners. So I will tell him, hey, we're going to give you a haircut because otherwise the alternatives a buzzer cut from Beaners,
Shave and haircut.
which is actually Felix's mom is very supportive about not cutting his hair when he doesn't want haircuts, so that's pretty good.
If my mom was in a better place, I would have asked you to cut her hair.
I don't actually cut other people's hair. I don't like being touched, and I don't like touching people.
Yeah, that's what she's like too.
Yeah.
So it's going to be hard for me to get her to get a haircut. That's the problem.
Why don't you just put it in a ponytail?
What about the home care? Do you think that they
She's not to that point yet.
Oh.
It's only a trial day. She's only there till Friday.
Oh, okay.
But why does she need a haircut? Can't she just? Why does she need a haircut?
Her hair's really long. She doesn't like it.
Oh.
It's just almost as long as mine. She hasn't cut it for 3 years.
What about a number 3 buzzer?
I think if she doesn't like her hair long and she doesn't like getting haircuts, that's like a her problem, right?
She wants to go to the hairdresser, but I had to tell her that the hairdresser passed away 20 years ago.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, there's that space next to what they used to be Rumble.
No, she won't go. She won't go to a barber shop. It's picky. I have to figure out if I can find an older person that's a senior hair cutter person that can come to the house.
Oh, that'd be
and let them and she'll let them touch her. If not, it looks like I'm doing it, and I suck at cutting hair.
I think you can do it.
Is she got a big dance coming up, or what's the?
No, it's too hard to wash. When she washes it, it goes in her face and everything.
No, but I mean, like, how old's your mom?
She just turned 80.
Right.
Like maybe.
So is there something I'm not understanding about, like, is she on her way to a cruise or something? Or
No, she just does. She likes it short because it's easy to manage. With long hair, she can't manage it. She had like, she was pinning it. Like she had 50 pins in her hair.
What if you just pulled out the clippers and just had at the?
Wow, she'd just say, "No, you're not a hairdresser." So it's kind of like she has a hair cutting kit from when we were kids.
Right, the Flowbee.
The what?
Nothing.
Oh, that thing with the blow dryer built in.
Flowbee. George.
Yeah, no, she wouldn't go for that either. She used to bleach her hair with bleach. And they said not to do that anymore because it actually destroys the hair follicles. So, I guess I'll just, she'll grow it down her butt, I guess.
Kelly, do you color your hair?
Long time ago, my mom actually colored it and it turned out like I looked like a pumpkin.
What is your interest in hair? Like, do you have a sense of like what you need out of your hair, or what you seem to have a healthy body image when it comes to hair?
Well, in high school, I used to have short hair because she used to style my hair, and I didn't like it. She wouldn't let me style the way I wanted to, and she just would, "Oh, we're gonna color your hair. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do a perm." I'm like, "Mom, I really don't want it." And then she's like, "No, it'll be good." And then I got made fun of, so I didn't like that.
But you wouldn't get made fun of for your hair, even if you had a bad haircut now, right?
Yeah, I get upset if they cut too much off.
See, Jesse and I have a different attitude towards hair. Felix kind of cares about his hair, but doesn't care how he looks. He likes having long hair. I'm not sure what his motivation for, but he doesn't have a sense of vanity. He just likes his hair long because of what it speaks. And then Jess likes if I make her hair kind of funky and wild. So she's pretty. I could shave her head one day or put a mohawk in the next day, and she's always up for a new adventure. But I don't. For me, I don't have like a sense of. This will sound awful. I don't think I have a sense of vanity when it comes to my hair. I like to keep it out of my face, and I don't like to be distracted by it. So maybe that's what your mom's responding to, is if it's a certain way it distracts her, and if she has faith that a hairdresser can keep her from being distracted by her hair, that makes perfect sense. I just talked my way through it.
Yeah, like with me for hair, my hair is long enough that my friend Tony calls me Cousin It from the Adams because it's all one length. And I like it long. For me, it's better.
Mhm.
And I have gray streaks, anyways.
Mhm. You know how I got Jesse to take a day off the other day?
How?
Well, first of all, I'll tell you this. I was in the lunchroom, and I never go in the lunchroom. But I was in the lunchroom, and I said, "Oh, I was cruel to my wife the other day," and everybody went, "Like you're so bad." I'm like, "I haven't even told you what I did yet, and you guys are already judging me." And then I explained what I did to Jessie, which was cruel. But she has a tooth removed, and she should have taken a couple more days off, right? But because she had her tooth removed, there's some risk of like her getting an infection or dying or her skull collapsing, all kinds of things. And so I said, she woke up in the middle of the night in great pain, and I said, "You really need to take tomorrow off and rest." And she said, "Oh, I can't. This person's counting on me, and that person's counting on me." I'm like, "You need to take the day off so that you don't hurt yourself and get sick." And she's like, "No, I can't because this kid's counting on me and that person's counting on me." I said, "You need to take the day off so that your cheekbone doesn't collapse and you walk around with a horrific face." She got up and called a sub. So I did lean on, can I say vanity?
Lean on my vanity.
Yeah, to get you to take care of your health.
Yeah, and it's dumb that I like.
And there was like such a groan of disapproval when it turned out I had a good reason for being mean to you, because I think they were waiting for something really delicious about like.
They're like, "Oh, you were mean by supporting her."
Yeah.
I actually sent the link, the watch link, the broadcast,
Yeah.
to the caregivers actually, because I told them all they watched a little bit of Rumble from last week.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
And they actually said, "Oh, really? This is cool."
I'm surprised my own mom doesn't watch because she keeps saying she misses us, and we do go every week to visit her, but then she doesn't remember that we're there. And I go, "Well, there are probably 800 hours." And I'm not kidding. I think there's about 800 hours of broadcast time.
We should just put it on. Like,
it would be difficult to miss me, even if I came to see you once a week, because that's enough. But with 800 hours of live feed time, I think it doesn't make sense. But my mom would say she misses me. But I go visit her. Well, actually, it's easier now because she's not speaking to me. She's kind of frozen. Is that the right way to say it?
Yeah.
Not that she's not speaking to me. She's just, my mom's pretty quiet now. And so I go visit her and we just sit and not talk, and it's quite nice. But when she was speaking, she would tell me I didn't visit enough, which would drive me nuts because I just visited. So it's hard when you're taking care of people and they're getting older and you're giving it your all, but they don't remember.
My mom remembers me. If I come in the door, she knows who it is, so that's good.
Did she give you a lecture about not coming often enough?
She did the last time. She said, "I haven't seen you forever," and I go, "Mom, I was just here last week."
Yeah.
She
So I
just
think I got to a place where if my mom wasn't going to remember me coming, I could just come less often. And then I started to really miss her, and she started getting a little sicker. And now I just go and I sit next to her, and we just don't talk. Do I sound like a monster? I probably do.
no, I think everyone has their own relationship with people,
And then my Auntie Penny passed on Monday, but we took a nice long bike ride to go see her Saturday. So we drove out of downtown, down Elbow Drive, through the Weaselhead, through several communities.
Yeah, so many.
Into Fish Creek, and then to my mom's care home, which is over by McLeod Trail, kind of on the way to Succomi Lake.
Yeah, like I noticed with them when they get older, they seem to be different. Either they don't talk, or they just stare at a TV, or like I kind of wish they would paint. Painting is a therapeutic thing. Even if they're not painting anything, they're just putting paint on the canvas.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to try to do with my mom, but I don't know yet. She's just not there yet. She doesn't want to do anything. She did used to paint, but just not anymore.
Yeah.
It's like they want to, but they're something inside of them is stopping them from
I
doing
think time moves differently for people sometimes, where they're like, maybe they want to paint, but then it's tomorrow.
Right.
That's what she was saying for showers. She'd say, no, tomorrow, tomorrow. And then 8 months went by and she hadn't had a shower.
Hmm.
But today she did, finally. So that's good.
That's nice.
The caregivers helped. So, but it's just sad. It's exactly how I see it. What dementia is, it's the shell of a person, and then the person inside, there's little bits and pieces of them inside, but it's like the disease is blocking them, so they can't get out.
Aw.
So that's how I see that's the disease. And it's very just sad sometimes because I know she's in there, but she's having problems expressing herself.
Mhm.
So, and I feel for other people that have this with their parents too.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah.
I won't talk about it anymore. I don't want to upset you, Jesse.
Oh, it's okay. Sometimes it's good to talk it out, and then sometimes it's good to just have it out, and then everyone's thinking about their own experiences too. Because I know everyone's family is aging, and
My dad's going to be 84 in July, and he has vascular dementia and COPD. But he's hilarious to talk to, though.
everyone's different, hey?
Yeah, their personalities are way different too. He blows me kisses on the video,
Aw.
and then he forgets he turns the camera off, and he goes, "Oh, I can't see you," and I go, "Dad, you turned the camera off." But it's cool talking to him through line in Thailand, and I always ask him how the weather is and everything.
It's nice.
So. Would you like to hear about what happened at HorrorCon on the weekend?
Yes.
Yeah, what happened?
Okay. The first Saturday we got
Was that your ding or mine?
we got evacuated.
Yay.
I
Paper
feel-
day.
So we got evacuated because someone was. I smelled it. I thought someone was burning a campfire inside the building,
Oh no.
and they were actually smudging. You know that
Oh yeah.
stage and stuff.
Yeah.
So they were burning stage. So we got evacuated for 45 minutes.
That's a little bit of an extreme reaction. They should have just, or maybe they evacuated first and then discovered.
I heard different things. I heard
Guys,
Hi, bud. What's up? Are you felting?
he's felting.
Kelly, here's what I'm going to say about that.
What?
I feel like the organizers need to get to know their culture and the world that we live in. That if you live in Canada and you smell sage and you evacuate
Expo.
an expo,
Mhm.
it makes me think that when they did the land acknowledgement,
They were early.
they weren't fully connected to the expectations of, because in my school, you know, they really want to support the first people of our country, the Indigenous people, to be able to have smudges in the schools. And then so you get people sort of panicking, like, well, what if we set off the alarms? Like, no, it's not going to set off the alarms. And I think that the organizers need to know that's a very Canadian smell.
Yeah.
And they need to be sensitive to people's cultures, especially since we're guests in this place.
Yeah, like you said, as soon as you're doing the land acknowledgement, you should be understanding.
So,
What you're
like, I
saying.
think when you go to a place, you need to get to know the smells and the sights and the sounds and normalize. I think smudging should be normalized everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the first thing. The second thing was, it was on the second day. I only noticed it actually towards the end. Someone was making jewelry. They had brought in a propane tank into the building. And I was like, oh, just one spark and we're gone.
So did they get rid of the propane tank?
It was towards the end of the convention.
That's probably somebody that used to come to a Rumble House and just doesn't know you can't have propane tanks wherever you go. Like,
Yeah.
is it okay if I have a blowtorch in here? I'm like, maybe not so much.
Yeah, I was like, it's common sense. Don't bring a propane tank in here.
I was gonna say that would be more cause for alarm than the smudge.
Oh, I was a little alarmed. That's for sure. I was diagonal away from them.
Did you say that the smudge set off alarms or somebody panicked?
Yeah, the smudge set off the alarm. I don't know how, unless there was two things that happened. He said someone was smudging, and then he also said there was an electrical fire. And I'm like, oh, well, maybe that's both of the things.
Okay, I don't think those things are connected. I think that an electrical fire for sure would have set off the alarm, but I don't think smudging would have set off the alarm.
Well, you definitely could smell it, that's for sure. Because I thought there was like someone was roasting hot dogs. But we got evacuated. I was standing right by the guy who played the guy who was in E.T.
Yeah.
He's grown up now.
Yeah.
They had Dee Wallace. She was the mom of E.T. And then the other guy, the kid, the brother was there.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of cool, actually. Of course, E.T. is like 40 years ago. Or whatever it was, 30 years ago.
Terrifying.
Yeah. 80s.
Felix and Jess and I just started watching Stranger Things. So we'd seen it a long time ago, but Felix hadn't seen it because he doesn't like scary stuff.
How's he like it so far? I like it. I'm waiting for season 5.
He likes it, and then it gets scary, and he's like, turn it off, turn it off, turn it off. And then we're like, no, man, you wanted this on. So, like, you can't turn the scary stuff off and go to bed. I'm always like, you can either not watch the scary stuff, or you can watch it till the end, but you need to find the resolve.
It's not scary the whole time. Like, it on and off.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's good. I liked it.
Yeah, I like
Have you ever seen Saw?
Yep. All of them.
Do you find that that's not like a little bit messed up, or?
It is.
Okay. When you're watching that show, how do you feel?
I just go, what the, whatever? Why is that happening? Why are they doing it? Why is he doing it?
See, I don't, I'm way too sensitive to watch shows like that. And then my students are watching them, right? Felix is a little too sensitive to watch Stranger Things. And I'm like, you're going to have to toughen up, kid. But then, like, when it comes to something like Saw, it's like, you know what? I don't need to see this. And I don't know if it's improving my life in any way. But I do worry about, like, culturally what we're doing to ourselves with
I'm actually rewatching Dexter.
Is that good for your soul?
It's interesting.
I think if I understand, and I haven't seen Dexter, they sort of played it up like, here's a guy who's a murderer and a villain, but he does it in a nice way.
He's got impulses that he has to control, and so he uses those impulses for good. So it's a little bit different. But it is interesting, that's for sure. I watched that. I was watching Supernatural as well. I stopped watching it because I'm watching too much right now.
Yeah?
I haven't watched too much. I've been watching My Kitchen Rules UK lately.
We were watching The Misfits yesterday.
I watched one episode and I couldn't get into it.
Of which one?
I don't know. What
Is
show
there
are
a
you talking
show
about?
called The Misfits?
I tried to watch that.
We were watching a Marilyn Monroe movie.
Is there a show called Misfits?
apparently.
Oh.
Maybe it's something different. I'm not sure. It was a long time ago I saw it.
Interesting.
The one that if you want to have laughs, watch Faulty Towers.
Oh yeah.
Faulty Towers is hilarious.
Do you also like Monty Python?
Yeah, to a certain degree. It gets annoying after a while. Like it was funny back then, but now it's not that funny. Like the genre back then is different now than this year, like than we are right now.
That makes sense. Yeah.
I like Sesame Street.
I like Bugs Bunny.
There you go. We can agree on that.
Yeah, Sesame Street I do like too. I've only seen a few episodes of Fraggle Rock too, but I enjoyed it. Or Hammy Hamster. That was the other one I used to watch. You remember Hammy Hamster? Jess? You guys, I think lost sound.
Are we back?
Yeah, you're back.
Yeah. So, do you know if what was it called?
Hammy Hamster.
Hammy the hamster. Do you know if it was
It was live action.
And the guinea pig.
Is it a GP? Yeah. Is it a myth that it was taken off the air for animal cruelty?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a myth.
I'm looking it up right now.
Yeah, they had Hammy Hamster and GP, the guinea pig.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was so funny. I used to like it when he was in the boat.
Mm-hmm.
He was cute.
What? Am I correct?
The allegations of tying Hammy to the boat. Some viewers recall Hammy being tied to the boat, which has led to accusations of cruelty. While the show is popular, some sources mention it was banned due to concerns about animal welfare. Limited information, the specifics of the alleged cruelty are not always clear. The ban may have been due to broader concerns about animal handling in television productions of that era. Hamsters.
I think I know where that myth came from. Let's just call it a myth for Kelly's sake because she really loved it. But there was this is a true story. There was a guy that had dancing chickens in his store window, and it was like this big thing where people would come from miles around to see the chickens dancing, but they were actually just standing on a hot plate, and so
No.
yeah, they weren't dancing. They were like
Ouch,
burning.
ouch.
Was Hammy always in the
Oh
boat?
no, Hammy had a broken leg.
Yeah.
That's the reason why I got a hamster too.
I had Holly the hamster.
I I called him Hamster.
Hamster.
We had another one named I can't remember. Squeaky.
Oh.
It was black and white. And then we had another one too. She
like
lost
I'm
her
in a
eye.
loop right now.
What?
I feel like I'm trapped in a loop right now. Let's talk about something completely different.
Okay.
Let's talk about Kelly, do you have a bicycle?
Nope, not anymore.
Can you ride a bicycle?
I can, but don't have one.
When was the last time you had a bicycle?
20 years ago.
Oh, so it's not in your window for you're not planning to do that again?
Eventually,
What do you need to get started?
a bicycle and room. Steve's got 2 bicycles down here, but they won't fit me. They're too high. And
Yeah.
they got 2 flat tires too.
Mhm.
He hasn't ridden in 10 years, I think. Not since he crashed it.
Okay, I have a question. Why does he have 2 bicycles if he doesn't ride them anymore?
We kept him in case he wants to ride again.
Wouldn't it be like smart to keep one of them in case he decides to ride again and make space by getting rid of the other one?
One's a cross country, one's a downhill.
Mm-hmm.
So they're 2 different bikes.
Right, but he hasn't ridden them in 10 years.
Yeah, they're both broken. So. Like
I think you're running into some space issues there.
yeah, well, there's like molds everywhere, and I've got bears everywhere, and he also has a motorcycle in the garage that hasn't ridden in 10 years. It won't start. You still have your bike, right?
Yeah, my bike's working.
It works good.
Do you bring? Is it in? Oh, it's in the parking garage, right?
Maybe.
I have a friend that used to live in an apartment. He used to bring his bike into his apartment.
He must have lived in a very different apartment than us.
In BC, you drive it up the stairs. I thought that was really odd.
Like a ground level. Careful.
And he was on ground level. He's on the 2nd floor apparently.
What kind of motorcycle was it?
It was an older one, like yours actually.
My motorcycle would not go up a flight of stairs.
He made his go up the flight of stairs. I don't know how he did that.
I think we're talking about different kinds of stairs. I saw it in Animal House, but I think that was a stunt. Maybe it was a dirt bike.
Maybe. Might have been a European one, maybe.
Was there a curve in the stairs?
No, it's just straight up. Up and you go around.
Did he have a ramp?
Nope. He just drove it up the stairs. I think he walked it up the stairs, you know what I mean? But had it like going so he could get it up. Because I know you can't ride it. If you're going to ride up the stairs, you have to lean over the handlebars for the weight. I think. Yeah. He only did it once anyway, so. There's no way I could ride Steve's bike up a flight of stairs. It's too heavy.
I could ride my bike down some stairs. Like Daffy Duck. Can only do it once. There's a few spots on our bike trips where we go over overpasses where there's like a set of steps and then there's like a curved area. And then you go down the curved area and there's like...
Is that Jojo the Clown?
I don't know what it is. I was just saying I haven't really done a painting I'm proud of in about a week or two. Oh! Close. Maybe because Mark's here. I feel like Mark's got judgment.
Oh.
He's not judgy, but he has a sense of judgment, which makes it harder to, like,
Oh.
Mark's going to look at my paintings and
Uh-oh.
know that they're not good. Want to pass me that art history book? Go in there.
Yeah.
Givers to. I saw. There's the PO box, and you can write a letter to get a drawing.
No, is it not over here? We're not really doing that anymore. I mean, we
No?
can, but yeah, no, it's every day's a new day, revolving. So you'll notice, like we were talking about this earlier, about how Jess took her book apart so that we could spin the wheel,
Yep.
come up with letters, and then we sort of realized, oh, we haven't done that in a while. It doesn't seem that essential. And the idea of having people write us letters and get free paintings is fine, except from didn't really
Stretching up my calf muscles.
didn't pick up. So it actually seems easier to get people to buy paintings than write us letters for paintings.
I was thinking about that today too.
And so I have had some interest in people contacting me to buy paintings. And when I said, oh, all you got to do is write us a letter, they're like, great. But then the letters didn't arrive. I'm like, is like buying easier than writing a letter? So I mean, I'm not bitter about it in any way.
Just learning about people.
It was just like, well, maybe this isn't the direction we're going to go.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, I just kind of thought, well, maybe if we just stop talking about it, we don't have to it won't be a disappointment. So that said, I'm not saying we won't send a letter. It's just that I'm not going to continue pushing for that. I'm not going to try and encourage people to write letters if it's not what they want to do. And then from there, I think I'm going to go back to having some shows. So
I was hoping one day I would get to have a show with you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Set up a show. I'll be happy to join you.
Yeah.
Just don't ask me to apply.
Well, I have no idea where to do a show. I'd like to go if you're having a show.
Oh, you want me to do the work?
Well, no, I'll help if you want.
I want you to do the work.
Yeah, I just don't know what to do, right? I've never done a show.
No, well, Kelly, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start having independent shows. I'm going to have shows in my house, and I'll show you how to do it so you can have shows in your house. How about that?
There's no room in this house.
Well, you got to get rid of a motorcycle and a bicycle and maybe some cats.
No, the cats stay.
But I guarantee you, we have a smaller house than you. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to build some temporary walls. And what I'll do is I'll be putting up walls and hanging my work. And I might do it every few months or so. And then I'm going to just have an invitation that if people want to come by and if they're serious about buying some art, they can come by and have a look at it. If they want to just come by and look at it, they can as well. But I want to know kind of like what people's intentions are before we start building too much. And then what I'll do is I'll put my artwork up for a weekend. So for a weekend, our living space will be filled with my art. And then people can like come in and see it if they want to. They can come in and have a coffee. And then I'll take the stuff down. So I'm going to have some independent Rich Teru pieces up.
I would probably want to come and see.
Yeah, that would be nice.
And then if I do decide to do a show, well, I have no idea how to do it. So.
Well, like you just make it up. That's the thing. It's like you just invent it as you go, and you make the decisions as you go, and you give yourself permission to learn. And you don't worry about impressing anybody or following any rules. You just do what you want to do in your space at your own pace. Or, you can get with a gallery and they'll tell you what to do. In my case, I just want to be able to maintain my independence. And it'd be nice for me to start showing my work again. So I wasn't initially wanting to ever sell or show my work again for a long time because I'd run this gallery for so long. But then I looked and I had 100 paintings and I was like, oh, maybe I could be a little less proud and just start showing my work.
So if I did like found like a community place and did all the work, would you come, and would you think Theo and maybe Zach would come and some other people?
To see the show?
No, to participate.
I don't mind showing my work at your show. Is
Okay.
that what you're asking?
And if you wanted to sell it or whatever.
If you put up a show, Kelly, I'll give
Yeah.
you some work, and if you sell it, you can keep the money.
Oh, no, I would.
Donate some work to you to support your show. How's that?
You could have extra money to go on a second trip to Disneyland.
I'm not so much interested in money. I just want to get rid of the work.
Yeah, but wouldn't you want to go on a trip? Like to some place, like go see the Mona Lisa?
I feel like I could say this 1,000 times, and yet you're gonna still.
I know. I'm just trying to be helpful. That's all.
Well, so am I. I'm saying I'll give you a piece. I'll give you. You can sell the piece, and you can have it, and I'll come and support your show. And if you sell something, it's yours.
And if Mark Vaz, I can't even pronounce his last name.
Mark,
if you wanted the show pieces, and Theo.
Well, you can ask those people for sure.
Is Mark back now?
Mark is back, yes. Yeah.
Is he back for a while or a month? Okay.
Everybody has their way of working, right? Everybody has their comfort zone and what they want to do. And so my experience is that if you invite people with an open heart, they will get back to you with whatever fits them best, right?
Right.
And I think it's a good practice to invite people. And then for me, I've always kind of not wanted to expect too much out of how can I word it? People donating to me. Same way as like you're like a little reluctant for me to just give you my work. I'm the same way as like I'll make a space that people are welcome to come and join, right? And then if they want to come join, they can, and if they don't have to, and that's kind of how I like to go. So you open up a space and you invite the people you like, and if they can make it, they make it, you know?
Yeah.
Sometimes, like I think you're also wondering, like sometimes we want control over how we're seen, right? So I know some of those artists might not want to be, they might not be interested in the monster space, so they'll want to know how you're handling the show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they might think, oh, that's nice, and then if you're doing kind of a monster show, they're like, well, that's nice, but it's not for my work. So people are generally going to be sort of cautious, and they'll figure out what fits their plan.
Well, I have paintings too, so I'm not just bears and stuff too. I do resin art as well.
Yeah.
So
well, the Rumble House was all about not having any of those boundaries and letting everybody show together. And now that I'm not doing that anymore, I have a little bit of freedom to just kind of curate some shows and decide what pieces go together. Like, for instance, my the first time I submitted our short stories to a magazine, right? You never know what the magazine's episode is going to be about. So one issue might be about fishing. And if you write some fishing stories, they're gonna snap you up. And if you write fishing poems, they might snap you up. But if they're doing an episode about rockets and you write poems about fishing, it's not a good match. So they put you on a waiting list and they wait until the match fits better, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Like right now, I'm trying to help. Angie was a part of Rumble House at one point.
I remember her well, yes.
Yeah, and so I've been helping her out.
Yeah.
So, and
nice.
Like we have rhubarb, so she's making rhubarb strawberry jam, and I just give her the rhubarb because it's grown in my mom's backyard.
I got so confused there for a second. I thought you were telling me she was painting with rhubarb.
No.
Did you see a double rainbow last week?
Saw one yesterday.
Yeah.
After the rain, not a double rainbow.
I'll tell you a funny story. I'm not huge on art contests. But these very nice people invited my kids to have a shot at an art contest in a rodeo. And there's 10 spots, which I thought was quite generous. And I invited my kids, no pressure, my students. And 6 kids put artwork in the show. My mistake. 5 kids put artwork in the show. And there's 10 positions to win. And they won first place, second place, fourth place, fifth place, and sixth place in a rodeo contest for a poster. And I was kind of thinking about how unlikely it would be if they won again next year, because a lot of times the organizers will want to spread the winnings around a bit. So I decided to make my goal for next year to win all 10 places. And to do so, I've ordered some bull anatomical sculptures and some horse anatomical sculptures. And I'm going to spend my entire school year next year specifically training the kids how to win a rodeo poster contest. So the art lessons I teach will be more focused on poster making.
Yeah,
And and so the color theory stuff I teach will be about making use of like winning color combinations, sort of like I got some here. The blockbuster orange and blue. And then at Christmas we'll watch movies about rodeos. And so I set this ridiculous goal of winning all 10 spots. Now I don't actually expect to win all 10 spots or care if I win any spots. I just like the idea of having this outlandish goal of winning 10 out of 10 spots on this poster contest. And then one of my friends was kind of giving me a hard time about, like, what about the other schools? So I'm like, no, like, I obviously don't really mean that we're going to win them all. It's just the goal that I've set. Be like if your goal was to eat all the pies
in the whole world.
Yeah, it doesn't mean nobody else gets to eat pie that year. It's just that my goal is to eat as many pies as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So when is your show? You said in July?
That's a different show. That's like Cam's show.
It's whose? Ken?
Cam's show.
Oh, okay.
That's a totally different beast. It started out that was maybe an opportunity. So I had this idea that I was going to start showing my work, and then I called, and that was just for me, right? Just me on my own. I wanted to do that, and then Cam called and asked if I wanted to be involved in a show, and I started planning for a more open show with other people. And then as I got the details for Cam's show, I realized that it's a different project. It's not my show. It's like something Cam had in mind.
Oh, okay.
I'll tell you a little bit about that show, Kelly, after the broadcast.
Okay.
Because I think Cam has a plan, and I don't want to give away too much
Strategic PR strategy.
Yeah. We're live broadcasting, and I don't want to spoil his reveal.
So no Theo or Zach tonight.
Sorry?
No Theo or Zach, even though I sent them the list, the links.
Oh, they didn't come on?
No.
I think maybe a lot of people are kind of burned out from the hockey season. And I used to feel really like bitchy about how hockey made it hard for us to make rent at Rumble. And now I don't feel bitchy at all. Now I think it's hilarious. Are you a hockey fan?
Not really. I used to watch, but not anymore.
Were you rooting for the Oilers?
No. I watch Calgary occasionally, but my other friend, he likes Toronto, and they were out, so.
Mm.
Mm.
I'm looking at some old American paintings. Oliver would say Merkin. 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 Maybe I'm getting sick of the blue. That would be sad for me. That's all I'm really doing lately.
That's really.
What?
I have to get 2 things ready for Calgary Stampede.
Yeah? Have you ever tried those Calgary Stampede contests?
No, I actually just display my art, and that they look at it, and you get a ribbon or whatever. I haven't gotten a ribbon yet.
Yeah.
But I always enter 1 bear, so I got a horse, and then I'm going to enter a painting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does
That's
it cost?
my
Does it
thing.
cost money to enter?
Yeah,
How
$30 for both the entries. So
For
50.
what? Sorry.
What?
For 2 entries?
Yep.
Did they give you a critique?
They give you a critique and everything. Yep.
What was the most useful information they gave you in their critique?
They said I need to use more color on the one I had from last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have it handy?
No, I don't. It's upstairs somewhere. I have a little file going on them. But they said everything was good. And then the bear, a lot of people wrote, like, because you only have your name on there. I don't have the company. This says this is the person that did it. This is what it is. That's it.
Yeah.
But last year, I had, the bear was it was a bride bear. So it was a giant,
Kelly,
what?
are you putting your bears in the Calgary Stampede?
Yeah,
That's edgy as hell. I'm super impressed.
yeah. I've had a lot of comments on them.
Are you doing cowboy themed bears?
Yeah, this one's a cowboy themed one. The thing is nostalgic. So my thing is I'm gonna put a bear riding this guy.
Yeah.
And he'll have the little call. Like originally, I was gonna put a saddle on, but back then they didn't really have too many saddles. So I'm gonna do the bite out of clay, and then he'll have a leather strap and stuff.
That's fun.
And then a little bear going yeehaw kind of thing.
I think I'm a little bit subversive when it comes to the Stampede contests, but you putting a bear in those contests, I think, is the most submersive act.
This is the 3rd year, I think.
Yeah, what?
This is the 3rd year doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, last year I had, like I said, it was what was it? She was a, I call it she. She was a Dalmatian dog that was a bride with 100 hand painted.
Are you talking about like your monster dogs and stuff?
Yeah,
That's wild.
it had 100 hand painted flowers on the veil.
Yeah.
and the veil wrapped all the way around her. And she just sat there, and she had like a little boutique, like a little thing like that, like flowers and stuff. And the veil came, and you could cover her eyes and stuff, and she had pink eyes.
Mm.
She wasn't on, her eyes weren't on, but a lot of people commented on her. They said they had a lot of people. Apparently, I was 4th place or something. So that's pretty good.
It's nice.
So this year, like I always try to make it more and more. Try to, and I tried to do different paintings also. There, some of them are the bath bomb ones, but you can't smell them because they're behind glass.
I think that's for the best.
Yeah. So, but a lot of people like the paintings I do, so which is cool. But yeah, having the bear at the Stampede, that's a huge thing for me. I got Dusty won last year. She got first place for her scarf.
Her kimono.
Yeah. Because I told her about it. I said, you got to enter. Your stuff's awesome. And she's like, no. And I'm like, enter it, man. And she entered and she won. So I was like happy for her.
I saw that somewhere else recently.
The funny thing is I keep buying her tea towels.
Yeah.
Her friends.
Where is she exhibiting her tea towels these days?
She has it at the Drumheller. There's a Drumheller shop up in somewhere.
Yeah.
But she's part of the Quilters Association or something.
Nice.
She did something at Heritage Park.
Oh yeah, we went there.
Yeah.
There's
So
a nice little craft fair there.
She did something there, and then it's a funny thing. I take her tea towels with me to when I do markets, and I was at the cat show.
Yeah.
And one of the people from the cat show said, "Hey, can she make me something like this?" And it was the pattern was in the pattern, and so she made it. So I have it. I haven't given it to the lady yet.
Mm.
So this weekend coming up is I have my mom's garage sale, and then next weekend is Red and White Club, I think, and then the following week I'm at a music festival, which is it's a small community one, which is at Deer Run. And it's outside.
Nice.
They had people that played on American Idol. And they have like jazz bands and stuff. It's really cool. It's a music shop called Cornerstone Music.
Yep.
And they're the ones that have, and it's all different kind of music.
Nice.
It's cool. I do that one every year. It's fun. And then at end of July, I do Sea Space. Yeah. So that one's kind of fun too. Meeting the other artists is cool too.
Yeah, that's probably the most important thing, right?
Yeah, well, there's a guy that does portraits in Lego, which you've never seen before. Like the whole portrait is Lego.
Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of neat.
Did our sound cut off?
No, it was fine.
No, I was just being quiet. I did buy that high-end tent, and I got the sides for it now.
Yeah.
Just white.
Where did you get yours?
Impact Canopies in BC.
And it's got all the ratings, fire ratings and stuff. Good. Watch that tag. If you leave your tent out, somebody might come and separate the tag from your tent.
I think the tag's on the outside of the bag.
The fireproofing tent.
Yep. I'll make sure it's not. I'll wrap it.
Yeah. We left our tent at the Blues Fest, which is a place we love and trust. And in the morning, there was holes in it. And the only thing I can think of is it might have been like a security guard on a
Yeah, because we put it down to like
scooter or something crashed into it.
Because we put the legs down so it wasn't so high.
But there's a big rip in it the next morning we had to repair. Now the rip I can understand because it was an accident, but if I've heard stories about people leaving their tents out and they came back and the fireproofing badge was ripped off, I would lose my mind. It's really like a $700 tent with a $2,000 badge. See what I did there? Yeah.
Unabstracted
Yeah.
reconstruction.
Reconstruction. I have this book, and it was talking about the pathway from realism to abstractism. But I thought it was interesting that they missed out on the pathway from abstractism to realism, because the old let me put that down there. The old Egyptian paintings, they didn't even have sideways. You know, they had front view and three-quarter and side view, but they didn't have any three-quarter view for quite some time. And then so through the evolution of it's crazy. Some of these paintings really have lazy backgrounds, and I say that because I paint lazy backgrounds. And this goes back to what I was saying about like the kids I teach in Cochrane, where they see sky differently than I do, and so they might look like they're avoiding getting started on a painting, and I'm just waiting and waiting and waiting for them to get started, and then I realize it's not that they haven't got started; they've been painting the sky for like months on end trying to get it just right, and it's like mind-boggling to me that anybody would spend that much time on the background, but that's what matters to them is the sky, because they just see the world differently after growing up in Cochrane. I watched too many hours of Welcome Back, Kotter this week, and I have sounds from that show trapped in my head. It's really kind of painful. It was like I needed to turn it off, and I was just kind of like done supervising exams and tidying up my room, and I left it on too long. And I've damaged my mind. Welcome back.
This leg extension reminds me of you trying to get that photo of that flower.
Yeah. Kelly.
Yeah.
Do you remember some time ago we were talking about art and paintings and stuff, and you mentioned you could use some help in pricing your work?
Yeah.
How did you resolve that for yourself? How did you figure out the confidence to put up?
I just took a guess.
What I was going to say is, and this is kind of interesting, you haven't used AI at all?
No.
Because you can put your paintings into AI, and it'll give you the kind of critiques you're getting from, say, from the Stampede. And they're quite gentle, right? They're not like you're not getting shredded, but you can get an honest critique, and you can put your work in, and it'll give you some really positive feedback about where you're at.
Which AI would I use?
I use ChatGPT. I don't know much about any other AI. There's
Okay.
there's a website I was using when I was working with Lori on that book called Night Cafe. And I think Night Cafe might be a website that combines a series of AI engines to give you what you want. I don't really know.
Or image based.
Yeah, and then the Chat GPT also has image based AI. But I found it really quite useful, and I'm not saying there is a market out there for if you're going to hire somebody to give you feedback and tell you what they think of your work. But I think for free, you can get some solid feedback about your artwork and some solid content, like maybe even better than use more color, like really good feedback.
Is it called Chat GPT?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then so what you would do is there's a free account, and then there might be a trial account where you can try things out, or for the cost of like Netflix, you can sort of rent an account and get a higher end response. But my school next year is moving in the direction of learning how to use AI effectively, and I think so far that's one of the most useful tools. And I was reminded because you and I had a conversation about how to price your work. And,
Some people do it by square footage, right? Or by like the size of the canvas, I'm assuming.
you can, if you put your work into ChatGPT for feedback, it can tell how big it is.
Okay.
And it might ask you to confirm, like, this looks to me like it's this large. But I found it really useful in my own practice. We own a Salvador Dali and a George Brock, and I dropped the Dali into ChatGPT, asked them what it was worth, and they're like, "Well, its style is very strong. It's indicative of a Salvador Dali-like painter. If it was Salvador Dali, it'd be worth this much." And it kind of gave us the exact right price for what Jess paid for it. So it was a little bit shy of saying, "Is this a Salvador Dali?" Okay.
That science book you brought home was really cool.
Where is it? So I'll tell you the story of that. Is Elka retired, and she was there's a purple shelf that Frank built, and she was taking it to do something with it. And I said, "Oh, I'd like that in the art room." I think one of the reasons I wanted it in the art room was Frank had asked me years ago if I would paint the shelf, and I'm pretty sure I painted it. So Frank built a shelf, asked me if I paint it, and then I inherited it.
That's really nice.
Isn't it?
That's beautiful images.
This is a strange book because it is like cutting edge science from a while ago, right? So like the pictures are pretty. There's some cheese in here,
Yeah.
like this one that would look this, like Max Headroom kind of computer imagery. And then this book was just sitting on that shelf. So
It's so beautiful.
like this bad animal anatomy.
1500 to 1650.
What? Oh, the painting?
The time period.
Mm.
The revolution.
Is it, that's what they're referencing, the kinds of animals or the art style?
This is the section of the book that is from the year 1500 to 1650. So,
Well, it's time related.
yeah. So
Gotcha.
it's all based on notable scientific discoveries throughout history.
No gorilla.
No.
Gorilla.
That's funny.
What's fun?
Francis Bacon. He is not the Francis Bacon I know.
The different Francis Bacon?
Different. He lived 1561 to 1626.
I wonder if it's an ancestor.
That's interesting. I'm going to Google it while I look at this page. That's a beautiful.
Who's talking?
I'm looking up.
I'm looking over.
The philosopher Francis Bacon is not directly related to the artist Francis Bacon. They share the same name. The latter was born over 3 centuries later.
So I get to go to a CT meeting tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I kind of sheepishly applied for the CT job because I didn't want to get rejected.
Yeah.
And then I got told to go to the meeting before I got hired for the CT job.
Yeah.
So, in theory, I could be just filling in for whoever gets that job. You know what I mean? Like, here, let's test you out. But also, like, it's kind of like common for me that I've gotten a few jobs in teaching where it was like everybody else knew I was hired before I did.
Right.
Like, for once, I was in Vancouver and I was in Calgary getting notices that I had to book some flights to Vancouver.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, maybe I got that job I was applying for. And so every time it came up, though, like I had to ask Kevin if he would cover my, ironically, Kevin and I don't like sitting still for exams. And at the same time that Kevin didn't want to be CT, ironically, he also doesn't want to cover for me for the CT meeting tomorrow. And so that was funny. But on top of that, when Lucas said I was going to the CT meeting, I just involuntarily blurted, "I'm a big boy now." And somebody asked if I was going to the CT meeting, and again I blurted, "I'm a big boy now." So I do sort of dread at the point that if Dave said, "Hey, you're going to be the new CT," I just hope I don't say, "I'm a big boy now," because it just kept coming out of my mouth, which is weird. I mean, there's so many layers of weird to this story, but that's the part I'm in control of. And then I didn't really know what to tell you about having to go to that meeting tomorrow because we have to drive to school separately.
Yeah.
And I didn't want you to get all excited and like congratulate me for getting the CT position. It's different in my school because it's like a lot of schools you're like really fighting for the CT position, and my school it's kind of like people are so focused on their teaching they don't want to be a leader of themselves. So like,
right, because it's smaller.
Well, you're CT of yourself, really, right?
Yeah.
I'm my own department, so it's kind of silly, and it means you go to a lot of extra meetings. But it's easier for me because I ended up doing a lot of the CT content, and I think I can say this online. Kevin was a little obstinate about the CT content, so we'd be writing the goals and things for being the my department, but he'd kind of make it kind of difficult on me, like Well, then I'm going to do this. And I was like, well, why don't we do it right? It's like, I'm doing it this way. How about we just do it right the first time? And then the second and third time, I'd end up writing the content and it would be good. But he's funny that way. So it's going to be way easier, I think, if I'm doing it myself.
Mhm.
And then not doing it like second or third hand. I might have ink on my toe, do I?
Yes. On the
That's
side of your
bad.
foot.
I don't think I put it anywhere yet.
Here.
I don't think you can help me. Oh, I have slippers over there.
I could just
Yeah,
Lysol wipe your
no,
foot.
slippers are good.
Okay.
Wait, elephants were discovered what year?
I don't know. I have to look it up. Do you not know these things?
So for next year for CT, I'll just make sure that I just keep track of when things are due. It's not hard, but then you're like making like videos for the things that you did that worked out really well. And if you don't keep the content along the way, you're like, oh, wish I had some video of that event we put on.
Where did I put that shoe?
It's nearby.
Is it on top of your foot?
It's nearby. It's all good. This reminds me of I wonder what year this is.
Between 15 to 16.
It's really interesting because it reminds me a lot of Rousseau. And Rousseau was kind of mocked for his style, and then he was like praised for his style because his
Right.
style was maybe a little bit naive. That's why they called him the postman. And then maybe Rousseau saw some of these American paintings where perhaps the artists were struggling a little bit with their anatomy. Yeah, I will not be joining you on the way to work tomorrow because I will be. Is that a zebra? Or is it a unicorn? Make it a unicorn. And then I just need a chicken right here.
Irish Bishop James Ussher, 1581 to 1656, worked backwards through the chronology of the Bible to conclude that the earth was created in the evening of October 22nd, 4004 BC. This estimate was accepted by virtually all educated people in Europe at the time, including Isaac Newton. He also thought the primary colors were red, blue, and yellow. Usher's date would be used again and again for centuries as evidence against the claims of geologists and evolutionists. It was cited in court at the world-famous Scopes trial in 1925 and is referred to even today.
How did they claim to know that?
He worked backwards through the Bible, obviously.
No, how would they claim to know that
that it's still claimed in.
Isaac Newton believed what Isaac believed?
That's fair. Jan Bruegel the Elder. Of course you're drawn to it as Bruegel the Elder.
What, the painting I just
Yeah.
looked at? Oh, that makes sense. I do love Bruegel. Oh,
Oh,
okay.
love a Bruegel.
So then for sure, Rousseau was ripping off
Bruegel.
Bruegel.
Makes
Yeah,
sense.
the first essay I wrote at ACAD was a Bruegel, about Bruegel. This one's kind of neat.
Yeah.
Orbs, septum. Oh, is that the quote?
Yeah.
Oh,
It
that.
looks-
Don't look at that.
Yeah.
We're not ready for that
We're not ready for that, but also
at all. How many minutes left? How about 15?
10, 15.
10, 20, 30, 40, 50 and more. The bloody rich Roux drew 3 more. Kelly, I hope you know how much I cherish you.
How come?
Why do I cherish you, or why do I hope you know?
Why do you cherish me?
I cherish you because you're loyal and you're decent. And you're
I
kind.
try to be here every day. I'll try to be every Wednesday. Kind of look forward to it anyway. So.
You're also weird.
Yep. Wednesdays for weirdos.
It's very kind of weird.
Yep.
I think I was thinking about this earlier because I was kind of not wanting to think about my aunt passing. And then you're sharing about your mom not being well. And I realized I think maybe my weakness sometimes here on the broadcast is I got to be here every week. So maybe like Zach or Theo had something they had to do. You know, the reason we never had contracts when we did Rumble House and Gorilla House was if somebody wasn't in the mood to show up, they probably shouldn't be there. Sometimes I have to be here and I'm just not in the mood to, you know, share this or that. And so it takes an extra sort of amount of like whatever for me to get through the evening. And that's that. I think that's ugly on me sometimes. You know what I mean? Like that's why I apologized to you earlier when you're asking, or did you ask me how my mom was? And I said I didn't really want to talk about it. And then I knew there was no way for you to know that my aunt passed. So that wasn't directed at you at all. But I was also trying to think like how can I get back to where I was and not talk about this without like coming off like a jerk. And I do appreciate that you leave space for me to be imperfect sometimes. Not that I'm perfect, but like I'm so far from it that like I never feel like the need to be. I don't know. You're a good friend.
Thank you.
Strangely enough, we were having breakfast right before we went back to work years ago, and we realized we really should have gone to go visit Alexander Elliott over the was it the Easter break, and so we're headed back to work on Monday, and it was Sunday, and I said we should have gone to go see Alex, and Jess is like, well, I think we missed it, and I said, can we go next week? And she's like, you want to go to LA the week after Easter break, which turns out is the perfect way to do it. But I was like, yeah, and then she's like, well, we can talk about it. I was like, well, can you buy us a ticket? Because she was like, well, why don't we have breakfast and talk about it later? And I was kind of like, no, I think you should buy a ticket right now. So we did, and it turned out we had to buy a ticket that moment because the flights sold out over that breakfast. What had been like a choice between 2 or 3 flights very quickly reduced to the only choice. We flew out to LA, and I'd asked Jess if she would contact Alex to let him know we're coming because we're flying all the way out there to see him. And she's shy, so she wanted to surprise him. And I was like, that's crazy because he might not know we're coming. He might be somewhere else. Little did I know we flew all the way out there without telling him we were coming, because she was counting on to running into him at the restaurant that he frequents. And so we got there and he didn't show up. And I was quite miffed because it was a pretty expensive holiday, considering that he wasn't where he usually was. So there was no way for us to find him. And right before we gave up, he stumbled in. We had a lovely breakfast with him. We met with him a couple times.
He did that.
And so we saw him Saturday and we saw him again Sunday. And then we went home. And after seeing him that weekend, he passed on the Monday. And we talked about how fortuitous it was that at that moment, I'd had the urge that I had to go see Alex that weekend. Mm-hmm. And then we've been a little busy lately, and I should go see my mom every weekend, but I hadn't gone to see her every weekend. And then I suddenly got the urge to better get down there. So we rode across the city. We went to see my Auntie Penny first for the first time ever. I think we normally go see my mom, and then we go see my Auntie Penny if there's time. And dropped in to visit my Auntie Penny Saturday, and then she passed on Monday. So I seem to have kind of a 2-day window almost every time to I'll get the urge to go see somebody. And then now the good news is I often get the urge to go see somebody at the very last chance I'm going to have. The bad news is sometimes I wonder if I get the urge to come visit you, maybe I shouldn't, like maybe it's the kiss of death. Like there's a Twilight Zone like that.
Doctor Sleep.
Okay, well, there's 2 people with us now. I don't know who they are. One of them's Kelly, one of them's me. I think, Jesse, do you want to watch one of our videos? We're here for all the videos?
I've seen all of them, yeah.
Okay, what do we got here that we could play? Do you have a song we can sing? Or?
Jesse looks exhausted.
I know, it's been a couple weeks.
She looks like her cheekbone's going to collapse.
Oh, I know a song.
What? A song for me? That's so nice.
Uh-oh. I want to learn that one for next week. Sorry, I had an idea and then I dropped the plot.
We can just play the end. Oh.
I knew a man who jangles and he danced for you
Night, Kelly.
in a worn-out shoe, shirt and baggy pants. He'd do that old soft shoe. He could jump so high, and he touched down. I met him in a cell in New Orleans. I was down and out. He looked to me to be the very eyes of age. As he spoke right out, he talked of life, Lord, he talked of life. Then he'd laugh, slapped his leg in a step. He said Bojangles, and he danced a lick. He said his name was Bojangles, and he danced a lick.
I'm going to make this.
Right across the cell.
I'm going to shut up. You can keep singing to me. Everybody else goes without.